Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of August 3rd, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Well, the early part of the week really is not so busy in terms of major celestial events taking place. And so there's always something happening in the sky, especially the moon. The moon is always speaking with, well, not always speaking with, but for the most part, because the moon moves so quickly, has regular conversations with lots of different players in the sky. However, I really like to, especially for these weekly horoscopes, focus in on the major conversations that different planets would be having. And the early part of the week, not a lot going on. It really is the last 3 days of the week where all the activity kicks up. And it is really important activity that is happening. Mars will speak in supreme harmony with Neptune. I absolutely love this because it does suggest a building of faith. Even if it feels like not a lot is happening on the surface, I think actually because of that, because it doesn't feel so eventful on some level, a lot of people will be able to get a lot done. But for all that, we actually are slowly but surely building towards a full moon that takes place at the very beginning of next week. And so it is this week as the energy builds towards first this very supremely harmonious conversation between Mars and Neptune. I mean, this really is being energized by faith, by belief, and allowing your actions to be motivated from that place. It is allowing actions to be spurred by compassion on the one hand, but also inspiration. And in particular, I do think that there's an element here that has to do with artistic inspiration. Yes, Neptune is sort of the divinely inspired musician or poet. But with Mars, I think about how, and I know I've read about it and I've talked about it over the years as well, how during sport, if you will, people tend to have these moments that they call flow, where they just sort of enter in this other spiritual space where it feels so effortless and it feels like something else is sort of motivating their actions. I think we may see some example like that, at least as a collective, but in your own personal life as well, if you're looking to just connect with your body and to know something divine or to connect with something divine through movement, this certainly is a week that can help you to do that. But then what happens is really interesting. That happens in the late part of the week. And that is that we are going to have the Sun and Mercury meet in the sky. And then together they will both be speaking in supreme harmony with Uranus, before they move on and speak with Saturn, or move on pretty much at the same time, speaking with Saturn as well in a conversation that is one of tension. That is what astrologers call a square. And so when I look at the way that this is playing out, it does look like surprises, freedom, insight, understanding, certainly available to us. Certainly there's an understanding there available to us. And it looks like we all have an understanding of what we need to really feel free, to feel lighter, to feel like we're moving towards the future. And yet, at the same time, there is an awareness of where maybe we have some obligations, where maybe we have some responsibilities, where maybe we aren't as free, or rather, where it is that freedom isn't about not having responsibility, but freedom is to come through responsibility. That sometimes the thing that really is going to make you feel light and free is by fully taking ownership of where you are, what got you there, and ultimately who it is that you really need to say some gratitudes towards, or at least express that you recognize that they made a contribution in your life as well. So this should be a really interesting vibration playing out for all of us. On the one hand, we see our opportunities, we see the future, we want to run towards it, and yet we are mindful of the tradition that is in place right now. We want to break the rules and we feel ready to do that. And yet we also have an understanding that you've got to really understand the game before you go about breaking the rules in a way that's intelligent and also effective. So all of this is going to speak to all of us in different ways, but also keep in mind we're building towards a full moon throughout the week. And so emotions are going to continue to heighten and heighten. And of course, next week I will talk about the full moon more specifically. But that full moon is also speaking in harmony with Uranus, is also speaking in tension with Saturn as well. And so this is all part of a building energy that's really going to help us to understand just who it is that we owe our obligations to, and where it is that we don't, or who it is that we don't, where it is that we've already paid our dues, and where it is maybe that we need to acknowledge that there's still more work to be done. So now let's move into the horoscopes. How all the stuff I spoke about where it comes to what's happening in the sky speaks to you and your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. Well, this week we have your ruling planet Mars speaking in supreme harmony with Neptune. I think that this is an energy that is long overdue, big time. After you've had Mars in this interesting placement for such an extended time, Mars was moving through Libra. Now, your opposite sign, now with Mars having moved on, this is really your understanding that you are now in a new energy and that this energy can feel really, really good. And so do take the opportunity to connect with whatever it is that matters to you most. There is an element here that does have to do with finances, yes. So you may hear about a way to earn money that feels kind of inspired, feels kind of motivating, feels kind of like, wow, I could actually get this money and make a dream happen for me. And the dream could be like a dream for your life, a dream for your work. The dream also could be something a little bit more personal, or what other people might call a little more frivolous. It could be money for a trip that you really want to take, or money for a toy you really want to get. Regardless, it looks like there's a lot of luck with you and a lot of really good karma with you to make that happen as well. And so when you feel that belief that you can have what you really want, nurture it, because it is belief and especially action that comes from that place that could unlock nothing less than a miracle for you this week. Hello, fabulous Taurus. Well, this week we have some very interesting energy taking place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with home. And given that we've got the Sun and Mercury moving through a part of the sky that has to do with home, speaking with Saturn currently in your opposite sign, that has to do with relationships. I do think that there's going to be some, whether it's a discussion, whether it's a moment of understanding, whether it's you needing to consider things that maybe you hadn't been looking at before, you needing to be more sensitive in ways that you hadn't been appreciating before. There is an element here playing out that does suggest that you need to consider your partner and how comfortable they are where it is that the two of you want to share space. Now, for those of you who are not in an established bond, might not have anybody in your sphere, this becomes an issue of, is your home, is your foundation set up to welcome love, to actually share or not? Is it that you've created a fortress of solitude only fit for one person or not? I think that those of you who are single are going to find that, and where it feels right and comfortable, it really is okay. But with Saturn moving through your opposite sign, really the urge and the desire is going to be to move towards partnership, to learn about yourself through the experiences you have one-on-one with another person. And this is your chance to really get to any core issues that maybe have been getting in the way of you experiencing greater love than you've known before. And also just on a very practical level, you making changes on the home front that make things better for you and someone else that you love. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week, with your ruling planet getting this, fortified boost of heat really from the sun, walking with the sun, meeting and walking with the sun, while speaking with Uranus and Saturn does suggest a really important week for you, especially those born right smack dab in the middle of your sign. So right around the 5th of June or so, those of you born right around there are going to feel this energy most strongly. However, everybody of your sign should be feeling this, and this really has to do with you getting a very clear insight into just what it is that you need to do if you're going to move yourself into a more inspired future and towards a future filled with more happiness, more freedom, more a sense of who you really are and what you really want to do. And a part of that awareness is going to come by being aware of those things that may be don't feel that way. And those things that feel like they limit you or hold you back, what responsibilities are in front of you to do. Now, this needn't be one of those things that is, very, very saddening by far. Rather, what I'm seeing is that you see where it is that you want to go and what it is that you really want to do. And this is something really singing to you on a level of spirit, on a level of soul. But at the same time, I think if you're honest with yourself, your soul knows that this moment is not the right moment for you to make that big leap, to make that big change. So whether you're thinking about whether you end up someplace and you think, wow, this is such an amazing place, I just want to stay here and live here, but you realize that you've got other stuff to take care of, some responsibilities to meet, some things to get together before you do that, that type of situation is possible. But really any change that you desire to make, whether it's a new work, whether it's a new space, whatever the case may be, you see what it is that you want to do, what's going to move you towards happiness and lightness and you. And at the same time, a part of you is going to know what it is that must be done right now, what it is that must be delayed, and what it is that you can focus on right now. That doesn't have to limit your happiness in any way. In fact, this moment is a gift. And I do think that if you trust it, if you allow it to unfold, very soon we are going to begin to have, later this year, Jupiter will begin a series of conversations with Uranus. And I think this is going to be a moment that really helps you tremendously to further the insights that you are about to have right now this week. So pay attention to what it is that your soul is calling you to do, even if it feels like it's not feasible in this very moment. If you pay attention and if you have faith and you do what is in front of you to do in terms of meet your responsibilities, then you certainly will be shown a path towards that future that you glimpse now that looks so very inviting. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week we have this buildup of energy happening or continue to happen in the sign just after yours, in the sign of Leo. And as this energy is happening, and as Mercury and the Sun are speaking with Uranus, speaking with Saturn, I mean, I look at all this together. And then you add to the fact that Mars and Neptune, so harmonious to you and very harmonious signs to you, fellow water signs to you, speaking in supreme harmony. I do think that there's an element of you that is connected to what really matters, that is connected to what it is that's going to bring you joy. And it looks very much like the opportunity to really understand what you love, whether it's what you love to do in your own life, what's going to creatively fulfill you, or love in terms of another person as well. And all that these things, all that love can open up for you, very strongly indicated. However, at the same time, there is these practical matters in front of you that have to do with career matters, financial matters, and it really is going to be up to you to decide how you're going to navigate the information that comes out, because it looks like you see that there's an opportunity you could take that could really raise things for you wonderfully financially. However, be mindful that at the same time, I see you being mindful of the fact that it might not be a quick leap. It might not be that you can go from 0 to 100 right away, but that there is a process, whether that's a gatekeeper or otherwise, and that you are going to have to honor that process if you're ultimately going to get to the financial gains you want to take. Now, this whole coming year has got financial gains all over it for you, so no need to worry, no need to stress. Understand the inspirations coming now are allowing you to glimpse a more inspired future, a more prosperous future. But really, you've got a lot of time to actually put a lot of things in place to make it happen. And the universe is going to give you lots of opportunities. Understand this as just part of the process moving you towards greater abundance. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, it is your ruling planet meeting Mercury in the sky this week, speaking with Uranus, speaking with Saturn, as I spoke about in the intro. And I think that this is such an empowered stance, such an important place for you to be, because you are really understanding what it is to bring out the best in you. And that's what you want to do. And I see you sort of connecting with a vision of all you could be, all you could share, all that you believe yourself to be. And I see that you feel very ready to step up on a bigger stage, to share in a bigger way as well. And absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. just be mindful that because of the position of Saturn, it looks like you're going to have to demonstrate that you really are ready. And this really is what it is that you want to do. Now, there is an element here of readiness for some of you out there, for some Leos out there. I think that this is going to play out in terms of, yeah, I'm ready and I'm motivated and I'm going to show it and I'm going to prove it. And you just soar because of what takes place this week. There are going to be others of you, though, who are in the midst of this, going to become aware yourself where there is more work to be done for you, where it is that you've got to get more ready. You've got to get more experience if you're really going to embrace that future. Now, keep in mind that over the course of the coming year, Jupiter moving through your sign is going to make a series of conversations with Uranus. And so I think that this is a little glimpse for you into how good it can be. But breakout moments are coming up late September for you and also next year in March and in June as well. And so keep that in mind as I spoke about in your Jupiter special. This moment is a glimpse. This moment is showing you what work needs to be done so that once you get there, you can really excel big time. Hello, fabulous Virgo. Well, your ruling planet is meeting the sun in the sky in the sign just before yours and very active, speaking with power players, Uranus and Saturn this week. And as I look at this for you, it does look like financial talks. I mean, that's what I see written all over this. Financial talks written all over this. And you feeling a lot of hope, and feeling like you can have great prosperity, and absolutely you can. But you know how they say the devil is in the details? It really is about ironing out those details, figuring out what can be done, and trusting that other people are doing what they are supposed to do so that you can get to your ultimate aim of having the type of prosperity that you desire to have. Now, there is an element here, as I said, of agreements, of paperwork. There's that. There's an element here of an ongoing financial matter as well. And that, where we look at it from the perspective of an ongoing financial matter, seems really blessed. But really, now it just comes down to, are the right people going to say the right things to make it all come together? Well, you do have a full moon coming up that is encouraging as part of this process. And so trust that. And really, when it comes right down to it, you don't have a lot of other choice but to trust. There's not a lot of action to take right now on your part. You can have conversations with other people, but I don't think they're going to reap you the answers that you're particularly hoping for. But what's really going to help you is to connect to what you know to be true and to focus on the day, to focus on the work that is in front of you to do. And it does look like you are building towards shifts in the workspace, and that will really kick into high gear once we get you into next week. So for now, believe that there is prosperity for you. My father says to me, until that money is in your hand, it's not yours. Unless that money is in your hand, it's not yours. And so trust that. If that money is meant to be yours, it will be in your hands. And I do think that for some of you out there, it'll be in your hands rather quickly. Hello, fabulous Libra. With all this energy building in a part of the sky for you that has to do with friends and with friendships, I do think that there is an element here. I'm going to be honest with you. This is very much a sky of having an attraction to a friend if you're open to love, having a flirtation with a friend that feels really right. However, it also wouldn't feel really right because at the same time, there would be mindfulness of the limitations that may be there. And so for some of you out there, again, if you're open to love, open to connecting with another person, there may be an interaction with a friend that makes you feel like this could become something more. However, you're also mindful that what consequences could be if it doesn't work out. So that seems to be weighing very heavily. Also, alternatively, it could be that either one of you has other obligations, whether past or present, and that is making you think about the appropriateness or whether or not to go forward with it or whatever it is that you feel. Also, I do think for some of you out there, those of you in established bonds, the likelihood of this playing out a little bit differently is indicated. It is very possible that this is going to play out in terms of you feeling a strong sort of friendship connection with your partner and sharing a sense of hopes and wishes for the future, and yet also being mindful of what type of financial impact really going in the direction that the two of you are talking about might have. So I see that the two of you may stumble upon an idea that seems really exciting, something really great you could do together, something that has a lot of potential. However, at the same time, there is some money involved. How much of that feels comfortable to you? How much doesn't? Is it going to be 50-50? And negotiating all that is going to be part of the parcel this week, really, as you navigate your way forward. Are you comfortable with the choices that you're making financially where it comes to the alliances that you have, and especially where it comes to friendships as well? I got to say, this is not a good week to lend money that you expect to get back to a friend. I'm very much of the belief, give, right? Give. If you have it, give it. But when you lend it, that's a whole other thing. And so just be mindful of that, because it does look like there may end up being some obstacles that prevent a timely sort of return on that. So just be mindful of that. Make sure that you're putting and prioritizing a sense of friendship this week, and all should be well, all should go very smoothly. And that way you really emphasize the fun and the connection vibe that is on offer this week as well. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. Well, it is Mars moving through your sign, speaking in supreme harmony with Neptune. And I do think this is going to be the dominant vibe for you this week. And this really is such a lift. This really is going to be, I think about how you've had Mars, your ruling planet, your ancient ruling planet, moving in the sign just before yours for so many months now. And this is going to be a really coming together moment where inspiration meets perspiration, where there's an understanding of all that stuff that was just so restless and going on within you and you weren't really sure of. Now you know. There are some things you just know. And the knowing is really about faith. It may not necessarily be that things are changing so much on the external world, but it is about you and your faith and staying connected to that. For some of you out there, I do think that some of these lessons likely are going to come about in the realm of kids. And so if you are spending time with children, whether your own or someone else's, this is going to be a time when you really start to feel that you have this wonderful connection, and you start to feel really inspired as a result of the interactions that you have. It does look like a really great week when the best of you is coming forward in a way that feels very easy. Yes, you've got a lot happening on the career front, on the work front. It looks like there's a lot that you want to achieve now. However, absolutely you can. The work is still going to be there. The motivation certainly is there, and it's on high for you now. Do your best. Surrender the rest. There are work rewards. I do see that very clearly. But at the same time, ultimately, the power is within you, and staying connected to your joy, staying connected to what matters to you most, staying connected to inspiration. It's going to make this week that much more meaningful, and will reveal a vision of what can be more inspired for you tomorrow and in the days ahead. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. Well, you've got the Sun and Mercury moving through fellow fire sign Leo, speaking with Uranus and fellow fire sign Aries. I look at this placement and it just speaks wonderfully for you. Now, yes, we do have Mercury and the Sun speaking with Saturn as well. Not the easiest vibration. However, I do think that given all this wonderful fire energy, it's like the best of you is lit up. The best of you is coming forward. And thank goodness that it's not all harmony. Because when we see a sky where it's just a lot of harmony, not a lot gets done. Because we have so much faith, which is great. We believe great things can happen, which is great. But we're not actually motivated to take action and actually do the things that are likely to improve our circumstance. Because we've got Saturn there asking us to have a reality check, and for you in particular now, asking you, are you using that fire energy wisely? Are you using that fire energy so it actually counts for something, it actually amounts for something? For a lot of you out there, this isn't going to be a conscious process. It's going to be largely an unconscious process. Like, you see all the reasons you should be feeling so good and so empowered and so right, and lots of things are going right and feeling like they're going your way, and yet something within you is restless. Something is not feeling right. Fears might be kicking up. Regardless of how this energy is manifesting for you, the underlying gift of this energy is action. Do your best and surrender the rest. This energy will ensure you don't get lazy so that you maximize your opportunities. Ultimately, your power is in connecting to what matters to you most, connecting with where it is ultimately you see yourself going, and finding a way to get enthusiastic about it. But then it's one thing to be enthusiastic about it. It's another thing to actually take action, to move yourself towards it. And the sky seems to help you on all fronts with this week. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week, I do think that there is the opportunity for you to really find a strong sense of there's an element here that has to do with finances, yes, because we've got the Sun and Mercury moving through a part of the sky that has to do with finances, grants, loans, bursaries. Same part of the sky I talked about in the Jupiter special for your sign. However, what I find really interesting about these placements that's taking place is, while we've got a heightened energy in this part of the sky, and while it is speaking to areas that have to do with home and foundation, and so you may be looking at, there's a feeling ultimately of prosperity and possibility, especially where it comes to considering your foundations, what you've already done, and especially in the home space, when you've got sort of that quiet space to yourself, that's when the best of you seems to be coming forward, powerfully so. And yet this configuration is speaking with Saturn, with your ruling planet. Now, I don't think this is going to be that consequential. Ultimately, what I think is this speaks to a friend being a little dreary, a friend sort of raining on your parade a little bit. Maybe you have these great ideas. You think you're going to make so much money off of them, and absolutely you can. You feel like prosperity is yours, wealth is yours. And then a friend comes at you with some questions that don't make you feel very comfortable. This is not a good time to get into an investment situation with a friend, okay? So really, if your friend is saying, lend me this money, let's go into the stock exchange together, I would say just hold off a little bit, okay? That can be something that you can do. However, not this week. This week, the idea is not likely to be one that is going to feel right to you, and you've really got to trust your instincts on this. Mars and Neptune are in supportive placements to you, which does tell me that you're connected to inspiration. You're connected to energy as well. You're feeling really inspired, and you're having the right conversations that are just opening up your mind to all the possibilities. Continue to nurture that, and continue to nurture your own instincts and your own intuition, because that really is where the power is, and that really is where the prosperity is as well. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Well, both your modern ruling planet and ancient ruling planet are speaking with this particular configuration of the Sun and Mercury taking place in your opposite sign. This has decisions, motivations, inspirations around love written all over it, around partnership written all over it. And there are some really great things and some maybe not so awesome things, but ultimately will work out to be awesome things. And keep in mind that this week we're building towards the full moon that's taking place in your sign early next week. So really, this is such an important time for you. You are making some life connections and life decisions right about now. You are really gathering the final bits of information you need as you decide what goes into your future and what doesn't. And I do think that there's an element at play here where, for some of you at least, a situation that likely has been ongoing for quite a while. For some of you, I think it's going to be apparent what has been dragging on for a long time. For others of you, maybe not so much about dragging on, but that there's been hope. Now you start to understand what's working and what isn't. Now you start to understand, and really it's going to be this week where a lot of stuff starts to come together so that things start to change next week with the full moon. Now is the time when you really start to understand what goes into your future and what doesn't. Something within you, very fundamental, is shifting for you right now. And it's going to change the way that you understand love and partnership. So where it comes to romantic partnership, I do think that romantic partnerships have a pretty good chance this week. And it does look like conversations that are happening with partners, business and romantic, seem to be going really well. There's lots of ideas, lots of happiness, lots of stimulation happening on a level of mind, and lots of hope and belief that, together you can do these incredible things, and absolutely you can. But then there's the big picture to consider. There's the long term to consider. Does this person fit in with where it is ultimately that you are going? And I also see a bit of a reality check around this as well that's really going to come together next week more powerfully, and I'll be here to talk about it then. But it is very needed as you move towards the full moon. It's like you need to have the appreciation. You need to check in with yourself. You need to say to yourself, does this feel right? Is this person speaking something that's true? Or is this person speaking something that was true for who I was, but no longer is? These are the experiences you're gathering now, and they're going to lead you to some important changes coming up next week. So welcome every single moment of it. Welcome every single experience, because it is showing you who you are and what you need from the people who are closest to you, what you need from those people that you align yourself with in business and in romance. Where it works, it's going to be even more awesome than you anticipated. But where it isn't working and where you haven't been willing to admit to yourself that it hasn't been working, now come the experiences that make that very clear. And ultimately, this is about moving you towards a future of greater love and greater wisdom. And it starts with personal honesty. Hello, fabulous Pisces. Well, your ruling planet, Neptune, in your sign, speaking in supreme harmony with Mars. I do think that regardless of whatever else is happening in the sky, this really is going to be the dominant energy for you. You're inspired, you're lifted, you are energized right to the core, and likely energized thanks to a vision of sorts. And so when I say vision, what I mean by that is really having an understanding, or at least the inspiration of just what life could be, what road you are on where it comes to life. And if you were really to embrace the opportunity to share just a little bit more, how much better things can get. And I think that that is ultimately what this week really comes down to. If you shared just a little bit more, how much better could your life be? How much more prosperous? How much more rewarding could it be? And also what it is ultimately that you need to do so you can reap maximum reward. That is what the sky is showing you now. You are getting the chance to act and to understand your vision. Once Mars moves into the part of the sky that has to do with career for you, you get to the business of actually achieving those things. So nurture the vision now, nurture the inspiration now, nurture the belief in yourself right now. It does look like the possibility of some of you out there attracting a mentor, whether it's for a moment type of mentor, you attract somebody who gives you some very valuable advice, or you attract a mentor who ends up sticking around for a while, also very possible as well. However, it does look like you are getting advice that just fills you with hope, with inspiration, that really helps you to believe that great things are possible. Absolutely they are, but they have to be rooted in action. That really is key. This is Mars and Neptune we're talking about, and Mars is action. When you act from an inspired place, you work with the energy of the universe. And that distinction is what is trying to make itself apparent to you now. And if you trust it and you follow it, you are going to find good things start to fall into place for you. you. One of them likely is going to be, as I said, a mentor or some other figure presents itself giving you some very timely advice, very, very well needed, that really helps you now in some powerful ways to move towards greater achievement and, of course, greater love and greater wisdom as well. Well, I will stop there. Thank you so much to everybody out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.